Welcome back to Rides and Drives Team Radio. I am Kaz. I'm here with my father, Harvey, and today we are here to talk about qualifying for the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix.
I don't know. They may have to change the name to the Honda Detroit Grand Prix if they keep dominating like this.
I know there's something embarrassing and a little bit ironic about not being able to perform well at the race that is meant to be your home race. But yeah, Chevrolet was definitely on the back foot today. We saw only two Chevrolet engines in the top six, only three in the top 10. It's pretty
Yeah, and
dismal.
and we saw more engine problems for Chevrolet. Lundgaard had to replace an engine after blowing it up in practice. So, and this isn't an isolated incident. If I were still writing ads for Chevrolet, this would be a really bad day for me. So I'm not sure what's going on. Obviously, the track doesn't suit the power plant. But in the post-race press conference, both Power and Palou talked about the post-qualifying press conference. My apologies. Both Power and Palou talked about how they felt their engine had more power and also was more efficient, that
Mhm.
they could run longer than the Chevys can. So that's a dual threat, especially at a track like this.
Yeah, it sounds in this situation, ordinarily there are pros and cons to each engine. Maybe one is more powerful, but one can run longer and is more efficient. In this situation, there is no downside to running the Honda at this race, and that's a bit frustrating. And I just want to talk for a second, and we don't know a whole lot here, but I want to talk for a second about, you said it's not an isolated incident, and that got me thinking when we were talking about that earlier today. So I went back, I'm on a WhatsApp group chat, just Chevrolet media updates. Um, Almost every other race this year, there have been a very low information bit of messaging from Chevrolet that just says we're replacing this engine. The engine
Right.
will no longer be used. So
Yeah.
it's becoming a bit of a trend at this point. We saw it a couple of cars before Indy. Now we're seeing it again before Detroit. Rossi's engine was replaced before the Sancio Grand Prix.
Yeah.
It's just it's happening over and over, and it does give you questions about not just the performance of the Chevrolet engine, but also the reliability.
Well, and that's a huge problem because one of the reasons you race is to let people know how great your engines and your technology is
Yeah.
that goes into your street cars. And granted, there's not a lot of tech transfer anymore, but the marketing, the optics of it, it's all about, we used to say win on Sunday, sell on Monday, right?
Hmm.
That was the mantra we used to use. Um, and so it's really interesting to see these challenges and how Chevrolet is going to deal with them. But if I were running GM and Chevrolet right now, I'd be really working hard, putting pressure on these IndyCar folks to, the engine folks, Ilmore and those guys to figure out what's going on, get some answers quickly because this can't go on throughout the season. It's a bad look.
In particular, on the heels of last season, which look, I know last season was all about Alex to an extent, but it was there. We saw this. We didn't see engine swaps last minute so much last season as we are now. But what we did see was a lot of different tracks, people saying, oh, this is a Chevy track, we'll be fine. And yet the top 10 is majority Honda. Coming off of that, Chevrolet is, I mean, for the last season and a half, Chevrolet has seemed like the weaker engine. Um,
Yeah,
that's
and
not
that's
great in a series like this. It's not great for the series. We definitely want to, frankly, I would love three competitive engine manufacturers.
Ford.
I would love a
Come on,
third.
Ford.
Honestly, I saw McLaren is, I mean, they might just be talking, but I saw McLaren wink, wink. We could do it.
Well, they're
Hey,
not
why
even
not?
making their F1 engines. So
Yeah, well, yeah, they're starting to do it now, and maybe they'll make IndyCar engines too. And that would be really great to see a
that would
McLaren
be
that
great.
actually has some McLaren power. So I would love that. Um, but yeah, it's if we're looking at just a fan from a competitive standpoint, having one engine be kind of more clearly dominant than the other is really disappointing. So I agree with you. It's Chevrolet's got I hope somebody at the top is really putting pressure on the right people to get this figured out
Yep.
because we need a competitive series. It must be the case.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens, when we get to St. Louis. That raceway seemed to be pretty good for Chevy last
Mhm.
year. We'll see if it is again.
Short
But
ovals have been nice
yeah,
for Chevy. We've got a couple of those coming up. So there are plenty of opportunities coming in the future for them to get those flowers and be okay. But it's the reliability thing that's now
right.
making me like, well, okay, your engine's better on short ovals, but if a couple of drivers are having to replace their engines last minute every race, that's
Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. But I am not encouraged at this moment by, the way the Chevys have been performing over the last few races, and we're just going to have to let this play out now. Hopefully, they'll make some changes, fix it, and things will be more competitive the second half of the season.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's got a bunch of races that I love coming up, including this one, including the Detroit Grand Prix. Um,
I love Detroit. I don't love this track, and today
no,
proved it again.
I
I
was
think,
about to say, man, that's an ugly track. I love the race because
right.
I love all races, but and this one is always chaotic, which is fun. But man, what an ugly track. Detroit is, like you said on our Thursday
Hmm.
preview. Detroit is a beautiful city, very Art Deco. It's
Right.
really interesting and unique looking. Why are we just showing warehouses? It's so ugly.
Yeah, warehouses and parking ramps. It's and the Rensen, which,
Ugh.
is a 80s um, relic now. It's really unfortunate that the track doesn't run in more architecturally scenic and significant parts of town. I know they want to include the riverfront. That's great. But I'm sure there are other ways they could lay this out. Also, the track surface is so bad. It's so bumpy. Alex talked about how the fact that there is no grip on this circuit, even when it gets rubbered in, there's no grip. And you could see that coming out of, turn two, turn four,
Hmm.
even that sequence through where Malukas went out
Hmm.
in that area. It's a very low grip area. Cars get bounced around, they land, they can't find grip. It's um it makes for chaos, but it's not the beautiful chaos, say, that they talk about at Milwaukee or a place
Yeah.
like that, where it's all about the racing and
Yeah.
chaotic racing. So what we're going to see tomorrow are, yellow flags that are going to disrupt strategies. It may make things interesting, but it doesn't it doesn't feel like it's going to make for great racing.
I don't think it's by any means, I don't think it's going to be a clean race, but I do welcome the opportunity to see how teams respond to
Yes.
opportunity. And I think that's what we have here. And there are a couple of teams that I've been kind of dogging on all season about not being able to fix their mistakes. And I think that this is a great time for us to transition and start talking about Andretti,
Yeah.
who for me was always the story of this race. They have really positioned themselves highly as the number two team, which they haven't been. The Kyle Kirkwood has been talked about as Alex's championship rival, and now by the numbers, he is not. Um,
Mhm.
but this is also an exceptional track for Kyle historically, and Andretti as a whole.
Right.
So this is a great time for Andretti to say, "Hey guys, we're still in this." And you know what? Today they really did. We've Kyle made some mistakes in his
Right.
fast six run, but he looked fast. And I don't think Kyle starting from six, he could and should be able to work his way through the field, through the 5 cars ahead of him, and be fighting for a lead. Will starting on the front row is fantastic, and their lowest qualifier was Marcus Ericsson starting 10th. This is the kind of day Andretti needed to have, but because of what you just talked about, because
Hmm.
of how this race is going to be about responding to yellows in interesting situations.
And
And
remember, they
this race
changed
is
the
usually a
policy on the
two-stopper.
yellows
Yep.
so that, you know, pit windows will not be a consideration on
Yep.
this anymore.
And this race is typically a two-stopper, but with a yellow thrown at the right time, that's a wonderful opportunity for a team to respond and say, "Hey, we're going to mix up the strategy here. It's going to be
Right.
interesting to watch everybody, but I am going to be laser focused on Andretti because they have made some strategy and pit box errors this season that, Arlington, they wound up getting the win after some pit box errors. Great. But there have been some other instances where they've taken themselves out of the race.
Right.
And I want to see how they do here. I think we've here's another thing that we've said a lot on this podcast. Will Power's an honest guy. When he was interviewed on TV after qualifying, what he said was a clean weekend would be great.
Yeah.
That's from a guy who just qualified second.
Right. He,
And I agree with him. For Andretti, Kyle should be fighting for a win, and Will starting from second should be fighting for a win as well.
right. And
But
starting
what's
from the front,
more important is having a clean race.
yeah, starting from the front helps you have a clean race.
Mhm.
So, if you start in the mid pack and, all of a sudden you go down into the hairpin with 10 cars around you, that could be an issue. And fortunately, he's going to be either right in front of or right behind Alex at that
Mhm.
point, probably.
And Alex
So,
is a safe guy to go into a
yeah,
hairpin with. He's not going to
yeah.
screw you around.
Right. And honestly, there isn't anybody in the top six that you look at and go,
Hmm?
they're gonna get over their skis. I mean, the
Hmm.
least experienced guy in that group is Lundgaard, and he's a smart racer.
I think of
So,
Lundgaard as a technically proper racer.
right. And these
I
guys
don't
all
expect
know
him to
you're
be.
not going to win or lose this race on the first lap.
Yeah.
So they're going to be good. They're going to let each other battle, you know. But you look at that and you say, okay, Andretti's a team that needs to prove itself. Now we got to look at McLaren again. And yes, this is a Honda track, so they're on the back foot to begin with. But um, you've got Lundgaard there at fifth, Pato at seventh, and then Nolan at 13th. So not bad starting
Again,
positions.
tentatively good day for McLaren. We have to see what they do with it. There were Lundgaard bumped Pato out of the Fast Six, so
Right.
we've got 2 drivers who were looking to transfer and looking really racy and sporty about it. Um, I don't expect necessarily to see Christian perform so well on a street circuit. This is not usually his bread and butter. I I don't know. We've been talking a lot about how McLaren's just been kind of riding that,
Yep.
not making the step forward that they need to make. And maybe I'm partially just kind of I said that about Meyer Shank before the 500, and then Felix went and won the whole damn thing.
Right.
So maybe if I say this about McLaren now, they'll pick stuff up. I'm not buying it. The qualifying is great. I'm not buying it though. I don't really think either of these drivers are in contention to win the race.
Yeah. I think first of all, when you look at this race, you have to say, okay, I'm going to favor drivers with a Honda engine
Hmm.
because of the power advantage coming out of the corners. That's
Hmm.
really where they have that advantage. And that's why Chevys have more of an advantage on, or at least are closer on the high speed ovals. Um, and then uh, the other thing is the additional mileage, so they can play different strategies.
Yeah.
Although yellow flags are going to throw that into chaos.
Right, but an incredibly early yellow
Right.
where let's say you start on a set of tires that you're not really favoring and you
Well,
get a
everyone's
yellow
going to
four
start on the
laps in
yeah.
and you're able to ditch a tire you don't like.
Everyone's going to start on reds. The
Yeah,
question is, do
well,
they start on sticker reds or do they start on used reds? Because certainly the top six only have one set of sticker tires left.
right. But what I'm saying is the efficiency may come into play if
Right.
there is an early yellow and people decide to ditch tires they don't like and then run two very long stints.
True.
That is an option that is available to Honda drivers that might not be to Chevrolet drivers. And that could be the race right there.
Yeah.
Obviously, if there's a caution on lap four, I'm sure there's going to be another one. So,
Yeah.
th
Well, and
then respond to that next one. But
nobody's running, 90 lap or 40 laps without
mm,
a tire change
a
refueling. So,
refuel at the very least.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to see how it plays out, but I thought it was interesting because someone asked Alex in the press conference about which tire he preferred. Red. Did he think it was a red or a primary race? And Alex said, "Oh, it's a red race. We have to run them twice." So, and regardless of which we prefer, we're gonna run a race unless something happens to change the strategy. But then if you go from a two stopper to a three stopper, then you're going to run two sets of primaries. And the question is, do you save the primaries for the end of the race
hmm
or do you run reds at the end of the race?
hmm Yeah. Whereas we've talked a lot this season about tires and then gone into the race and seen that there's actually not a huge speed differential like there is in qualifying when it comes to race trim.
Right.
That there's not a significant cliff for the alternate tire like we maybe expect to see. I This race is going to be chaotic enough. I don't really need there to be that differentiation in the tires, but let's cross our fingers that maybe we see a little bit more of that, especially with what you said. What are people going to be running at the end of the race? Alex saying, "Yeah, this is a red race because I have to run him twice." That's Alex. For Alex, the preferred tire is whatever he's driving because he's Alex. And
Right.
I,
Although we saw Pato run his first qualifying session, the entire session on primary tires and got faster, faster, faster all the way through the session.
mhm.
So that's not going to be a bad choice if you have to run long. I think that primary is going to be a really strong tire.
Well, yeah, that's why
Um,
I'm looking at Alex exactly. He loves the primary typically. He's
right.
often said he prefers the primary in situations where other people would favor the alternate. I'm certainly expecting at the very least him to attempt to finish the race on that primary. So yeah, I just would love a little bit bigger of a gap between the two
Yeah.
sets. That's all. I would
Well,
like these conversations to matter more, and I hope that they will.
yep. Speaking of Alex, let's go back and talk about the penalty at Indy because we did get some clarification on that.
Great. Let's
Um,
talk about it.
the reason he was not penalized is because a bolt had worked loose under the wing, and that caused it to drop. And it was becoming, it wasn't an intentional thing where 2 years ago, Prema actually reset the wing after they were told not to reset it,
Hmm.
right? In this case, in the post-race inspection, a bolt that was holding one side of the wing up underneath the nose had worked its way out. And that's actually probably why Alex didn't do better on the last stint because his arrow was completely out of balance.
Okay.
So not only was it not intentional, it they didn't even know about it. It's just it wasn't a mistake. It was just something that broke on the car.
Right, but the rules don't say the car needs to fit spec at the beginning of the race, and then if something breaks, it's fine. The
You can,
rules, you can
well,
build, everybody else built a car that withstood the wear and tear of that race.
true.
And
However,
Alex's team did not.
let's
I
say,
don't know. I have a really hard time accepting. I'm an Alex fan. I like the guy,
right.
but I have a really hard time accepting this.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, I guess the other thing would be, let's say in this race, in Detroit. Someone nicks end plate of a wing, and the end plate comes off, and they finish the race in third place, right? Say Newgarden does that and finishes in third place.
That'd be
Um,
crazy coming all the way from where he
yeah,
is
but
with a freaking leg
with
injury.
with
But yeah,
half,
fun. Let's
without a
fun.
wing end plate, does
Okay.
he get disqualified because that wing is now out of spec?
I think it's different when it's caused by a racing incident, by hitting something, as opposed to you just didn't install the part well enough that it could withstand the general wear and tear of a race. Those
Okay.
are two different things in my mind. If you clip a wall and something falls off your car, but it's not dangerous and you can continue going, I think that's fine. But if in installation, and look, maybe the part was slightly defective, but we're talking about guys who are top of the line engineers here. They should maybe they should be able to recognize that. And if you aren't, then I don't know.
Okay.
It's something that incidentally breaks over the course of racing to me should still be penalized.
Okay. I
That's
just
my
wanted to.
I accept that we have a clarification. I do accept that that does differentiate it between both the penalty to ILOT last year, which again I wasn't really looking at seriously because those are two different officiating boards. My
Right.
bigger issue was the comparison between the penalty in qualifying for Kaio and Jack Harvey versus the penalty in the race for Alex. And I can recognize that that is two different things.
Right. Right.
But I still think it should have been penalized more harshly than it was. Maybe this is also just the part of me that wants a more competitive championship, which I think the series and Fox should want as well.
And
So
I'm
I don't know.
sure they do, but at the same time, it was interesting to hear that clarification. To me, it made it more clear about the situation last year versus this year,
Mhm.
where literally in pre-race inspection, they told Prema, no, you have to change that. They changed it in inspection and then changed it back afterwards and went out and raced it.
Yeah. Okay. For
So
100%, I think we can both agree
yeah,
that these are two different situations, and comparing the penalty to Ilat and the penalty to Palou is like comparing bananas and ice cream. But
yeah.
I still, regardless of comparisons, I still feel that that deserves a harsher penalty than what he got.
Yep. Speaking of Newgarden, let's talk about Joseph and his run today, given his injury that he sustained at Indy.
Yeah, look, guy with a crutch and a walking boot approaching his vehicle and taking the walking boot off to get in is a wild thing to see. This is, you know, what I want to talk about here because Joseph's run was not really notable in any way other than he was safe and
Right.
it looked slow, obviously, because he doesn't have full use of his legs. Um, I see online. I know I love talking about the chat
The chatter.
boards, but
Yeah.
I see online there is a this is not as big as the Alex Palou is cheating cadre of humans, but there is a large group of people who seem to think that Joseph is checked out.
Hmm. I can't imagine that. Having
I
talked to him,
I
you
know
know,
it's
the
the Palou is cheating thing. I can at least understand where you get there from, even though I disagree. But I every conversation I've had with this guy is about how he's focused on racing. And
right.
every and not just every you know, they've been few and far between, but every answer I've seen him give other journalists. I and the fact that he walked up to a vehicle in a walking boot. If he was checked out, he would have just sat this week out.
Right. They have a reserve driver, Felipe Nazar, is ready to hop in the car and run it. And I don't
And
know
would
if
probably love to hop in the car and run it,
right.
by the
I mean,
way. He
he's
was
there.
probably like texting Joseph, like, hey man, are you sure you don't need to rest? Because I'd love to. I would be if I were him, you know?
Yeah, why not? So, and who knows? Maybe tonight they say, you know what? Let's take the week off because you don't want to risk injuring it any further, any of that. Because this is his braking foot as well. This is the one that you really put a lot of pressure on.
Yeah.
So
And to be frank, qualifying where he did and given how he looked to get there, there's no real upside to him running the race other than just he gets to race.
yeah.
Like I don't think he's improving significantly. I don't think we're in a situation where if
No,
Joseph runs the race,
if he
that'll
gets
really
more than
help his
10 points
season.
this weekend, if he gets more than 10 points this weekend, I'd be shocked.
That would be a win for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just think given his health, given where he qualified, something's going to have to happen. He's not going to be moving up the way he did at Indy. It doesn't feel that way. But the other guy who was injured at Indy, Rossi, actually had a decent day. So
Yeah, solid day for Rossi. It's really great to see him working through the injury that way.
yeah, it was a it.
Also, solid day for Christian Rasmussen. Ed Carpenter qualified ninth and 14th.
Yeah,
Um,
they
this is
needed that bounce
they
back.
needed it after their triple disqualification at Indy. Not disqualified, but their triple DNF at Indy.
DNF, yeah.
That's
And
really a tough thing to recover from. So getting both your drivers in the top 15 at Detroit's a win for Ed Carpenter
yeah, they're in a
and
position to finish top 10, both of
Mhm.
them. So, that would be great.
They are driving the Chevrolet. So
Yeah. So
got to
that,
look at that.
but they qualified fairly high for that. And then, I think RLL is another team that we look at, and it looked like Graham was going to be stronger, and it just didn't work out for them. I mean, I thought, that he had more speed. At one point, it looked like he was going to get into that fast six, and just couldn't. They didn't time it so he could get his last lap in. Uh,
Which is such those are those mistakes that separate good teams from great teams, that separate mid-pack from front runners. I think RLL has some way to go before we're like, oh, they could be a front runner.
right.
But that's the kind of thing that you have to look at and say you need to clean this up before you can even enter that conversation. Win from Louis Foster though, if we're talking
Yeah.
about RLL. 11th for him is great.
Yeah.
So
I think both those guys making the Fast 12 was good news.
mhm,
Unfortunate that Mick again had an incident.
yeah.
I mean, I know this is hard, and I know he's a great driver, and I also know he's not delivering the
Yeah.
results that he's going to need to start to do. So,
Yeah.
this is a yeah,
It's interesting once you pass Indy, I think in particular with the rookies, the before Indy, the lead up conversations are all like, oh, they're rookies, they're making rookie mistakes, they're learning things. What did they learn today? How will they do at the Indianapolis 500? And Mick, by the way, strongest rookie finisher at the Indianapolis 500. Not
right,
too shabby at all. But now that we've passed that, we're in the part of the season where the question for rookies is not what are they learning? It's have you done enough to get another contract?
right,
Have you done enough that you are worth keeping on after your rookie season? And I do think that Mick, in particular, of the three rookies, has the most to prove.
yeah. Because he comes in with a big name, big pedigree, F1 background, really good sports car driver. He's got all the credentials to be a good driver in this series. And now he's got to put it together. This is the fourth road course of the season, right? St. Pete,
Street circuit,
Arling,
yeah.
street circuit, St. Pete, Long Beach, Arlington here. And, he hasn't showed well on these. And this shouldn't be, given where F1 is run, it shouldn't be
This
that hard
shouldn't
for
be
him.
too foreign for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that his oval finishes have felt stronger than his street course finishes, it's a little mystifying, to be honest.
Right.
You really did expect him to struggle on ovals, and seems like I don't think he's spectacular at him. Doesn't look
No.
like he's an oval natural, but he's been solid and dependable on the two
Right.
ovals we've seen run thus far. Um, his street finishes have looked a little less solid, and this is a sixth of the calendar, man.
Right.
Or sorry, this is a third of the calendar. There are six races. This is a third of the calendar. There are
Right.
six of each type. So for him to
Yes.
have a weakness like this in something where he should be strong isn't really a great argument. I also, you talked about his pedigree and his background about why he has more to prove, but I also think he has more to prove because I think Hauger and Colette have already done some of the proving.
Right.
And I have yet to see Mick put in a moment where the only thing I can think of is his qualifying at Phoenix, which was great, but that's qualifying's not good enough.
Right.
I need to see a great even and I don't need a great finish, but I just need to see some great moments in races for me to really say, yeah, we should keep Mick Schumacher. It's pretty crazy to think I'm sitting here saying like, should you dump Schumacher? But
Probably a little early for that
well,
conversation,
yeah,
but
there's a that's our job, right? To sit here and speculate wildly about stuff 5 months from now.
yeah.
Um, I he does it's not panic mode, but it is time for him to really start digging deep and finding those moments and performances. And the the races keep ticking by, so he has less and less of a chance every week that goes by.
Right. Yeah, he needs to start putting in some top 20, 15
Yeah,
finishes consistently. Doesn't
yeah.
need to make the top 10, doesn't need to, he doesn't need a victory, he doesn't need podiums. He just needs to finish consistently with his teammates.
A couple of top 15 finishes in a row for Mick would go a really long way.
Yep. No, I agree. So,
I
anybody else we
also,
want to talk
yeah,
about?
I want to just talk about Marcus Armstrong really briefly
Yes.
because I like the kid. And the theme for his season that he laid out at Content Day is spectacular moments. And I think he had a really, really great run in his first group in qualifying. I know that he didn't make the Fast Six, but I think, I think we might coming off of the Indy 500 and his strong finish there, and then moving to a race where Felix prepped us for this at the press conference. Detroit is
Hmm.
really not our race. So for Armstrong to be starting eighth at Detroit after finishing fourth in the
Fourth.
500 is a really nice look for him. And I hope he continues to come alive. And for Rosenquist as well. I mean, obviously he's not in position to win the race right now, and he didn't think he would be, but
Armstrong
16th
finished
is
fifth
16th
in the
is not too bad.
500.
Oh, that's right. Pato finished fourth. That
Right.
3-4-5 was so close.
So
It's really
close.
it's
I
really
know.
hard to
Sorry.
remember his
I
win.
just wanted to make sure everyone
No,
knows.
you're good.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
good.
But
You're good.
yeah, I thought that was the case. But yeah, he went from first to fifth and
He
that
went from
that
first to fifth, which
that
was
was
which was disappointing for him, but a great race for the rest of us, and a true
yeah,
photo finish for both one and two
both
and 3-4-5.
yeah, that
Amazing
that
photos.
3-4-5 shot was amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we can talk about his teammate because he has the coolest livery of the weekend.
I love the M&M livery. It is so good. I love all of these serious collaborations. I think they do a really great job capturing the artist. This one is no exception. I think it's
Yeah, and
excellent and so appropriate in
makes yeah,
Detroit. This is the perfect place
exactly.
to do it.
They just
It's
need to run
great.
that car down 8 Mile now. Do a little
Yeah,
promo.
that would be really cool.
That
Get
would be
Eminem
dope.
there, have him do a little song. That would be pretty cool.
Yep. Okay, so we're ready for the race tomorrow.
Hmm.
Who do we think's going to win?
Yeah, let's play our game. We're ready for our race. So
Yes.
it is time for another edition of Rides and Drives Victory Lane. Before we move into our predictions, we do have to wrap up last week because now we do have the TV viewing numbers.
Which
You
were
predicted,
disappointing.
yeah, you predicted that the 500 would top 8 million viewers. I was certain it would.
Yeah.
Um, Now
It
it did. There were at the end of the race 8 million people watching, but the official TV stats are not, the most at any point.
right. It's sort of an average. And the rating was I think 6.6 million, which was down significally from the
From the prior
2025
year, which saw over 7 million
7
viewers.
million.
So I don't really know why.
Yeah, I can't figure it out. Fox did a great job promoting the race.
Hmm.
Qualifying, I understood the qualifying numbers, TV numbers were quite good.
Hmm.
The weather was not great in parts of the country where you expect people to say, "Well, I'm stuck inside. I'll turn on the Indy 500," and they
Hmm.
didn't. So
And
that
every other race this season has been up from its viewership last year.
right,
So it's a little mystifying to me. Still good,
yeah. I mean, it's a
but not
solid
the
number, but not what anybody was hoping for.
I was definitely thinking that I would be,
And I lost
freely
four
handing
points
you 4 points. Well, I'm going to tell you this, Harvey, because you were very charitable to me and allowed me to utilize the spirit of my pick. Instead of giving you a -4, I'm going to give you a -2
Oh,
because there
good.
were at 1.8 million people watching the race. And
Okay.
I want it to be 8 million so badly that maybe I'm
So
just
where
like,
are we now in our grand totals?
all right. So you finished last week then with -1.5. And
Yep.
I finished last week with a goose egg because I knocked out all of my good work with my insane wording of my prediction, even though it really didn't affect the race, like I said it wouldn't. Um, Here's this though. I don't know how many points we're actually at in total.
I think we were tied at two
I think
points,
I think we were
something like
tied
that.
at 6 points.
6 points. I mean, yeah.
Guys, look, we're gonna go through old episodes and find out where we were. And after the race, when we run through these predictions, we'll let you know. And maybe we'll start a spreadsheet so that we don't do this in the future. But assuming we were tied at 6, after Indy, I'm still sitting at 6, and you are sitting at 4.5. So
4.5.
I go into
Okay.
this week with a slight advantage, but you, Harvey, have a different slight advantage in that you get to pick first. So let's
I
start
do.
with the podium. Who's coming in third?
Well, third place. This is a tough one. I'm going to say Scott Dixon.
Yeah, man, we didn't talk about Scott Dixon yet. It feels great to see him in the Fast Six after his slow start to qualifying this season. And man, did that lap look very, very tidy until that last wiggle.
Yep.
Um, I was sitting there with Nick just saying to him, look at how precise this is, classic Scott Dixon. Um,
Yeah. He was
Looked
there.
great.
And at points with the ghost car, he was right there.
Yep. And
So,
he will not be running full out during the race that way. So if he
no.
can bring that level of precision to his racecraft, I think that's a great choice. I am going to take, let's have some fun. It's Alex Palou.
All right.
Look, do I reasonably think that our freak of nature, Alex Palou, is going to win the race? Yes. But I can't pick him because I already know you're going to. So I'm going to leave that P2 open for somebody else and give Pillow third.
Okay. Um, yeah, and I'm gonna pick Alex Palou P2.
No, really? Are you?
Yes.
Hilarious. All right, great. Um, Good thing I didn't save him for a second then. Um, P2 for me is going to be he's starting second, he's going to stay second. It's willpower.
Okay.
Who do
And
you have winning?
I am gonna take Kyle Kirkwood to win this race
Yeah,
because
he
he
very
needs
well
it
could.
badly.
He
He
very
needs
well
it
could. He
badly.
needs it badly. I am leaving him off my podium. I guess I've gotten to a point where I don't really trust Andretti. I'm trusting
Okay.
willpower, I guess, but I don't really
Yeah.
trust Andretti. The winner for me, maybe it was some of his attitude after the 500. Maybe this is just because he's my husband's favorite driver and I want to give my husband a good week. It's Scott McLaughlin. We haven't seen him on the top of the podium in a while. He's overdue and he's starting from a really strong position here. I know the Chevrolet is not the right engine here. I know this
Hmm.
is a long shot, but I like it.
Well, we're talking about race pace, not
Yeah.
qualifying pace, so maybe that evens it out a little more. Um, uh, Certainly not a bad pick, and somebody who feels like he has some momentum coming out of the 500. He felt really good about his race in Indy. Um,
You know what I think it was actually that pushed me over the top of making this choice is here's a quote that I have from him from this same Chevrolet WhatsApp chat. And asked where he's going to be the most aggressive, he said, anywhere. I'll just take what I can get. And that's the attitude that moved him from 10 to 3 at the end of the Indy 500. If he applies that attitude here, I think he could win this race.
Yeah, and it was interesting. They talked about him on the broadcast during qualifying about how his Australian supercar background really
Mm,
helps in a track like this,
certainly.
where you're throwing the car around a lot.
I
So
went to the IMS museum with an Australian, by the way, recently, and he loved those supercars in the Penske gallery. He was really thrilled to look at them.
that's cool. So let's go with our biggest mover.
Mm-hmm. Who do you have? It's obvious.
I got to take a little Davy,
Yep. He's
starting at
starting
the
at the
back of
back
the
because he
pack.
put it in the wall
Right.
and caused a
He
red
he he
flag.
had, he had a top. He had a fast six car.
He
If
was
he
his statement after the fact was he should have let up and maybe not fought so hard for the transfer, but he really wanted the transfer and just pushed it beyond where he should. Once again, I see something he said and I'm like, man, what a mature kiddo.
yeah.
I gotta stop calling him a kiddo.
Well,
He's a
he's
grown adult.
yeah.
And he's I think he's gonna I think he's gonna move up plenty. Um,
So who's your biggest mover then?
outside of that, there aren't any super easy options, but I'm going to go with Santino Ferrucci.
I think that's a good one. He finished second last year
Yeah,
here.
he's strong on this track. He talked about being strong on this track on Tuesday. I don't really know why neither him nor Kyle looked super racy in qualifying, but as you said, qualifying pace and race pace are two different things. Santino likes the track and feels comfortable to be aggressive in a place where being aggressive can cost you quite a lot. So I think that that's if he's comfortable doing it, I think that this could look really great for him.
Yeah, and this I mean, he got a break last year.
Mhm.
That helped move him to the front, but
Maybe I'll get another one.
maybe he'll get another one. Who knows? Hey, I think you're right though. Of the people down that far, other than Malukas, everyone feels like they're kind of in their position.
Yeah. I
Maybe
toyed with Newgarden a little bit, but the reason he's there is because of the injury, and that's not going to be gone tomorrow.
yeah,
So
I don't think
it's
so.
just
So
that
I
wouldn't have been a
mean,
smart move.
it may work out. Who knows? We've been known to be wrong. I think the other person though that you could look at maybe moving up is Felix. But again, he's talked about this not being a track that they're very good at, that he's very good at.
Well, and
And
outside of that, for points, he doesn't have enough
yeah,
upside. He's starting 16th.
right.
He can only move up so much.
Yeah. So
I
I
could see
think
him
that's fine.
gaining 5, 6 positions, but I don't know that I can see him moving into the top five.
Right. So then we go to our
Biggest
biggest
bust.
bust and who's going to fall from grace here.
Who do you have?
Um, I am, oh, this is a tough one. I kind of am thinking it's going to be Louis Foster.
Okay. Louis Foster starting 11.
Hmm.
Um, Highest qualifying RLL car. Yeah, I think that that's a really reasonable choice. I'm going to do something very different.
Mm.
It's not a reasonable choice. Why not double down on this? I'm not buying it, Andretti. Kyle Kirkwood.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be because he didn't drive properly. I'm I'm banking on a team mistake here. Whether it be strategy or mechanic, I am betting on a team mistake.
All right. I think that's fair.
Yeah. All right, now we're going to move on to our plot twist where we make a wild prediction and gamble 1 through 3 points. Harvey, what is your plot twist for the race? What's going to shake it up?
Well, and this is really going to shake up the manufacturers championship. There will be no Chevys in the top 10. and only two Chevys in the top eight. I mean, no Chevys in the top five, only two Chevys in the top 10.
Okay, I'm actually really mad at you right now
Why?
because that was going to be my prediction. Even though I have McLaughlin winning the race, I was going to hedge my bets here and make
Okay.
a plot twist that relied on a full Honda top five. But cool, you've done it. So your plot twist it is your full Honda top five, two Chevy top 10 gets you
hmm
how many points?
I am going to say 3 points. I'm laying them all on the line.
Woo! And honestly, the no Chevy top five, I think I wasn't going to do the two top 10. I was just going to say no Chevy top five, but I also would have gambled 3 points on that. So I understand where you're coming from. I'm going to go to my backup plot twist. We have a 100 lap race. We have talked about all the chaos that this
hmm
track can bring us, but we are looking at a remarkable field of drivers who have shown us time and time again that they can be super duper safe in situations where you don't necessarily think they're going to. I think we're going to see 20% of this race or less under caution. That means no more than 20 laps under
20
caution.
caution laps. Okay, Max.
20 caution laps max.
And how much are
And
you going to bet on this?
I'm going to gamble two.
Okay.
I'm going to
So,
do two because I do recognize that this track is crazy and there's a
and it's
really
all
good
about
chance.
how quickly they can move people out. You know, how many
Yeah,
cars get, like if five cars get caught up in
then
something
there
in the
goes that plot
hairpin,
twist right there.
that's going to be a problem.
But
But who
it's
knows?
possible.
So
We'll see.
we'll find out. All right. So we have our predictions locked in. We have a race coming up tomorrow afternoon, and we'll be back online after that to break it all down and let you know what we saw, what we think, and how we did.
You guys, we cannot wait to watch this one with you. Please go ahead and follow us on social media. Harvey_drives, Fast Car Kaz, and Rides and Drives Team Radio are all over whatever platform you prefer. Also, make sure you go ahead and follow the podcast so that you can see how we do on our predictions week to week. I would hate for you to miss an update on an incredibly competitive championship like
Since we're
this.
doing such a great job of keeping score. So, all
Really
right.
disappointing for you guys to miss us fumbling over how many points we have.
For Rides and Drives Team Radio, I'm Harvey, she's Kaz, and we are out.
Drive safe, everybody.